Friedrich Nietzsche was one of the most radical, complex, and misunderstood thinkers in the history of Western philosophy. He was not just a philosopher, but also a poet, cultural critic, psychologist, and visionary who questioned the very foundations of morality, religion, truth, and human purpose. Nietzsche was born in Röcken, a small village in Prussia, modern-day Germany, into a deeply religious family. His father was a Lutheran pastor who died when Nietzsche was only 5 years old. This early loss shaped his personality profoundly, pushing him toward solitude, deep thinking, and emotional intensity. Raised mostly by his mother, grandmother, and aunts, Nietzsche grew up in an environment dominated by discipline, religion, and silence, elements he would later challenge fiercely. From an early age, Nietzsche showed extraordinary intellectual ability. He excelled in classical languages, literature, and music. His brilliance led him to become a professor of classical philology at the University of Basel at the age of just 24, an exceptional achievement, especially since he had not completed a doctoral degree. Initially, his academic focus was on Greek culture and tragedy, but over time his interests shifted toward philosophy, culture, and the psychology of human behavior. Nietzsche's first major work, The Birth of Tragedy, 1872, explored ancient Greek art and introduced the contrast between the Apollonian, order, reason, and the Dionysian, chaos, passion, forces in human life. The book was poorly received by academic scholars, which isolated Nietzsche further from traditional academia. This rejection marked the beginning of his intellectual independence and lifelong outsider status. Chronic health problems plagued Nietzsche throughout his life. He suffered from severe migraines, digestive issues, insomnia, and failing eyesight. These illnesses forced him to resign from his professorship at the age of 34. For the rest of his productive life, he lived as a wanderer, moving between Switzerland, Italy, and southern France, often alone, writing intensely while battling pain and isolation. During this period, Nietzsche produced his most influential works, including Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Beyond Good and Evil, The Gay Science, On the Genealogy of Morality, Human, All Too Human, and Ecce Homo. These books were written in a unique style, aphoristic, poetic, provocative, and often intentionally shocking. Nietzsche did not aim to comfort readers. He wanted to awaken them. To overcome this crisis, Nietzsche proposed the concept of the Übermensch, Overman or Superman. The Übermensch is not a physical superior being, but a psychological and spiritual ideal, someone who creates their own values, takes full responsibility for life, and lives authentically, without relying on external authorities. Closely related to this is the idea of the will to power, which Nietzsche saw as the fundamental drive of human beings, not merely the desire to survive, but the urge to grow, overcome, and express strength and creativity. Nietzsche was also deeply interested in psychology, long before it became a formal discipline. He analyzed concepts such as guilt, shame, resentment, ressentiment, herd mentality, and self-deception. He argued that many moral systems are born not from truth, but from weakness, created by the powerless to control the strong. His psychological insights later influenced thinkers like Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and modern existentialists. In terms of inspiration, Nietzsche was heavily influenced by Arthur Schopenhauer, especially his pessimism and emphasis on inner drives. He also admired ancient Greek philosophers and tragedians, believing they embraced life in all its suffering and beauty. Another major influence was composer Richard Wagner, with whom Nietzsche initially shared a close friendship. However, Nietzsche later rejected Wagner, criticizing his nationalism, Christianity, and emotional excess. Despite the depth of his ideas, Nietzsche was largely ignored during his lifetime. In 1889, he suffered a complete mental breakdown, reportedly collapsing in the streets of Turin. The exact cause remains debated, but after this event, Nietzsche lost his mental clarity permanently. The final 11 years of his life were spent in silence and dependency, cared for first by his mother and later by his sister. After his death in 1900, Nietzsche's work began to gain widespread attention. Unfortunately, some of his ideas were misused and distorted, especially by political ideologies he himself would have despised. Today, Nietzsche is recognized as a foundational figure in existentialism, modern psychology, literary criticism, and self-development. Friedrich Nietzsche remains a philosopher who refused comfort, challenged delusions, and forced humanity to confront uncomfortable truths. His legacy is not about easy answers, but about the courage to question everything, including oneself.